The King's Avatar, Chapter 1227 The Two Towers, audio source WurshaWorldAudiobook.com. Chapter 1227, The Two Towers Translator, Nomyami Editor, Nomyami. Of course Void wouldn't be in a good mood. For the group arena, Li Xuan had tried to boost his team members' morale, but when he himself went up, he couldn't find his footing. He hadn't even gotten to see Happy's group arena anchor before being blasted down by Sumuchung, which made the whole situation quite awkward. The good thing was that all of Void's players were old members, and the newer member GEKG was a mature and stable individual who knew that Sumuchung was always a source of suffering for this team's captain and vice-captain. There was no bitterness because of this. They were losing 0-5. In the confrontation between these two directly competing teams, Void was completely lagging behind. If they lost again in the team competition, then this round would end with a 10-point difference between the two teams. As soon as a difference reached double digits, it would always seem rather insurmountable. Even a difference of 10 points would provoke a much different feeling than a difference of 9. I think no one here wants to be swept 10-0 by Happy. Thus, this is what Li Xuan said to his teammates. Lose the team competition and we'll be overtaken. Win it and we'll maintain our tie. I won't say any more about what we need to do. Get your spirits up, everyone. This isn't the time to hang our heads in dejection. Remember last round, remember round 11, we have the ability to defeat any team. Last round, Void defeated Misty Rain 8-2. In round 11, defeating Tiny Herb 8-2 was the highlight of Void's season thus far. Li Xuan hoped to remind everyone of how they had defeated strong teams in the past in order to summon their confidence. Let's go. Let's win these 5 points, Li Xuan said. Turning his head, he saw that Happy's players for the team competition had already stood and were walking on stage. Yishu, Sumuchung, the pair that had completely defeated the ghost duo. Fang Rui, who turned the light-aligned Chi master into a dark and sneaky master of playing dirty. Tang Rou, who hadn't been able to play in the group arena, had been waiting a long time to go on stage. And Wen Yi had always been seen as Happy's weak point, but after 13 rounds, had anyone managed to target this weak point to create any real danger for Happy? No, not at all. Happy's strategies always carefully created a protection for him. This kind of protection wasn't just a protection of his life and safety, it also protected his development. They tried to prevent any situations that Wen Yi couldn't handle. This was a principle that Happy's strategies always carried out, and it had already been analyzed by many specialists. After these 5, the 6th person was Steamed Buns, an incredible rookie who had demonstrated a level of luck approaching a miracle this round. Would he carry this luck to the team competition as well? Let's go. Seeing that the opponent had already gone out, Li Xuan said this immediately. Team Void, Li Xuan and Wu Yusa's double Ghost Blade pairing would of course make an appearance. Then, there was the healer, necessary for any team competition. Void's healer was called Tang Lisheng, who used a paladin called Soul Defender. As for the other 3 positions, Li Zun's position typically didn't change, and GEKG's position was becoming more and more stable as he proved himself. He was even quietly becoming the axis around which Void's tactics revolved. For the final player, Void sent Yang Haoxuan, who had appeared in the individual competition earlier. In this season, Void more often sent out Spitfire Ge Zhaolan as their 6th player. But in this round against Happy, they made special adjustments, sending out launcher Yang Haoxuan instead, replacing Li Zun as one of the 5 players who would go on stage first. The intent of this adjustment was very clear. As expected, Void was extremely wary of Sumo Chung, so they also added a launcher to their roster, so that both sides could be more equally matched in terms of long-range firepower. The two teams' players went on stage. The team competition was the main event of each match, and there was a longer break beforehand to allow them to prepare. During this time, the players from each team often would chat while on stage. "Why didn't you reply to my text?" Team Void's Wu Yus received Fang Rui's greeting. "My phone wasn't on," Wu Yus answered. "Oh, what time are you guys heading back?" Fang Rui asked. Void was in City X, rather far away from City H. Even though the Glory Pro scene was rapidly developing, as of now, there was no team rich enough to have their own special charter plane or whatnot. Because Glory matches didn't have a set duration, it was rather difficult to make post-match plans. In order to let the players focus on the match, most guest teams would choose to spend the night at the city before leaving if their home city was far away. Tomorrow. Indeed, Void had made such plans. "After the match is over, let's play a few rounds." Fang Rui didn't send another text, and just directly asked for a match. The others stared, dumbfounded, as they watched these two arrange a private fight before this match had even ended. To the side, the listening judge also felt that there was something wrong with this, but he also couldn't find a rule to prevent this, so he could only glare at the two of them. Fang Rui was the only one proposing the fight. Wu Yus, who was dragged under the harsh look of the judge simply because he was the one being invited, felt that he was unjustly wronged. He didn't say any more to Fang Rui, only tossing out a "We'll talk after," before heading with the rest of his Void teammates to the competitor booths. Soon enough, the two sides were both ready and the countdown began. 5 seconds later, the battle officially began. The map was the Two Towers. Void spawned at the northeast corner, Happy at the southwest. The two corners were directly opposite each other. The northwest and southeast corners were in a more sunken basin, and each corner had a rock forest. At the center of the map, the directly opposite 10 o'clock and 4 o'clock directions each had a stone watchtower, from which this map took its name. The two watchtowers were at the same height, and their distance from each other was within the firing range of a launcher. These high points were clearly designed for a launcher to use suppressive attacks with their firepower. Seeing this map chosen, Void could only grit their teeth. It was clear that Happy also knew that Sumo Chung was the greatest threat to their ghost duo, and they had chosen this map to maximize Dancing Rain's firepower coverage. But in this round, Void also sent out a launcher, who didn't have firepower coverage. WuxRWorldAudio.com. Go. Li Xuan gave his orders and Void's 5 swiftly began moving toward the map's center, wanting to get to the watchtowers as quickly as possible. The two watchtowers were equidistant from the two teams' spawn points, for the sake of fairness. Void's players were confident that their movement speed wouldn't be any slower than Happy's. But as they rushed out of the northeast corner and the 4 o'clock tower came into clearer and clearer view, they suddenly saw a silhouette appear at the top of the watchtower. Dancing Rain had one foot on the floor and the other propped against the guardrail of the watchtower, shouldering her heavy cannon, her hair billowing in the wind. How was this such a valiant and heroic sight? Sumo Chung's launcher arrived at the 4 o'clock tower cleanly before Void. How was she so fast? Void's players weren't too confused. There was only one way she could arrive so quickly. Sumo Chung's Dancing Rain hadn't traveled at the same pace as the rest of the team. She had charged here alone to seize this watchtower. Traveling alone was always faster than traveling with a group. The movement speed of a character didn't just come from equipment. Skills that aided movement would help increase a character's speed significantly. And clerics and paladins, these two healing classes, didn't have such skills. They were the short legs of the 24 glory classes. The movement of an entire team, in order to protect the healer, naturally couldn't be fast. Void could have also sent their launcher to move solo. But if both sides sent out one player in advance, then those two players would meet first. Yang Haoxuan dueling Su Mucheng. Li Xuan couldn't say that he didn't believe in his own teammate, but perhaps because he was always a victim of Su Mucheng, he dreaded her. And Yang Haoxuan was crucial for this team competition, so he didn't dare send him out to take on Su Mucheng by himself. Void moved as a whole team, and Su Mucheng boldly arrived first. How brave, everyone forward. Quote, after giving a word of praise, Li Xuan ordered the whole team forward. If they weren't shocked, that meant that they had predicted this situation. And if they had predicted this, would they have no plan? Void's 5 players instantly scattered, surrounding the 4 o'clock tower as quickly as they could. Tang Lisheng's paladin quickly fell behind, and he looked a bit like a stumbling old man as he took the road furthest to the left. But after passing a certain point on the road, this character suddenly increased in speed drastically, starting to run with an unimaginable speed. How? After everyone was stunned for a moment, the display screen clearly identified in the close-up that this character was no longer sole defender. Void had actually boldly switched characters. The paladin's sharp leftward movement wasn't to avoid Dancing Rain's attack range, but to reach the support zone. The paladin left battle, and Li Zun's assassin Ghost Lantern switched in. With a swift run and swift movements, wasn't this assassin's movement speed a solid one? 5 times faster than the paladin's. With this, Void's plan couldn't be any clearer. They had guessed that Su Mucheng would arrive solo to claim a watchtower, so they gave her that chance. Then, they directly switched out their healer. 5 characters would attack at once to try to take Dancing Rain down first. The 2 Ghost Blades activated Ghost Step. The Exorcist's Blue Exorcist used a speed talisman. The launcher Translucent used aerial cannon. The assassin Ghost Lantern felt that swift run and swift movements weren't enjoyable enough and used a Xing Cut as well. 5 characters, through their individual methods, reached their top movement speeds, instantly converging upon the 4 o'clock watchtower. Their positions had also clearly been planned in advance. From Su Mucheng's high ground, she could stop one of them, but she couldn't simultaneously attack all 5. And so Su Mucheng ignored 4 of the players and focused her firepower on Li Xuan's Phantom Demon, Crying Devil. Under the firepower suppression, Crying Devil naturally couldn't continue forward easily, and quickly fell behind the other 4. But those 4 had already swiftly approached the 4 o'clock tower. And Yang Haoxuan's Translucent was already occasionally lifting his cannon to fire attacks toward Dancing Rain at the top of the tower. Successfully in position. Quote, as expected of the fastest class, the assassin. Even though he had a late start because of Tang Lisheng's paladin, he had actually reached the bottom of the tower first. As he reported in the chat, Li Xuan controlled Ghost Lantern to circle around the base to reach the stairs behind it. But when he circled around, Li Zun instantly came to a halt. Aren't there too many people here? Behind the watchtower, 1, 2, 3, 4. Happy's 4 players were in formation and waiting for him. End chapter. The King's Avatar. Chapter 1228. A Risky Move. Audio source, wuxia-world-audiobook.com. Chapter 1228. A Risky Move. Translator, Nomyami. Editor, Nomyami. Li Zun's shock couldn't described with just words. Speaking of which, only Team Void's 6 players didn't know about the 4 Happy players hiding. Even the Team Void players sitting at their bench had seen Happy's movements through the viewer's omniscient view. Unfortunately, they couldn't inform their teammates on stage. They could only run around in circles anxiously like cats on a hot tin roof. As for the crowd, they didn't feel shocked like Lee Sun. They could only wait expectantly for Team Void to rush forward and run into an unexpected situation. And now, the time had finally come. This was the climax of the script. When Lee Sun's ghost lantern ran past the watchtower and came across Happy's 4 players, the crowd fired up. Lee Sun only needed a glance to understand what had just happened, because the 4 characters waiting here were Lord Grim, Boundless Sea, Soft Mist and Steamed Bun Invasion. Yes, no healer. They had no one slowing them down. Happy came up full force. It wasn't just Sumo Chung's Dancing Rain, but everyone. As for Little Cold Hands, he had probably switched with Steamed Bun Invasion as soon as the match started. The starting spawn point was also the support zone. 1v4. Lee Sun wasn't that naive, but what should he do now? He had run here as fast as he could, so his movement skills were all on cooldown. He couldn't escape, nor could he beat them. He had to hurry and inform his teammates of his situation. Trapped, Lee Sun chose to use the most concise way possible to notify his teammates as Happy's 4 character threw themselves at him. Trapped. Did they need a reminder? Team Void's 4 other players weren't far from Lee Sun's ghost lantern, so they saw the ambush from Happy's 4 players. Everyone was stunned. Ghost Lantern was surrounded in an instant. Team Void was now at a huge disadvantage. How did this happen? Li Xuan wasn't famous for his tactical skill, and he didn't like to take risks. He quickly felt the difference between the 2 teams' tactical levels. The difference was risk. When the match started, Void could have sent their launcher, Yang Haoxuan, to fight for this position, but because they didn't want to risk it, fearing that Yang Haoxuan would be suppressed by Sumo Chung. Thus, the teams spread out further to be safer. As for Happy, they directly abandoned their healer and made a beeline towards this position to get there as fast as possible. Without Void knowing, Happy arrived while having Sumo Chung's Dancing Rain make a feint towards the high grounds. Happy had played extremely risky. If Void hadn't impatiently tried to take down Dancing Rain and continued their advance forward. Even if Dancing Rain held the high grounds, being without a healer wasn't something that a skilled support character could make up for. In fierce close combat, launchers could not stop a relentless offensive. Unfortunately, Void didn't do this. They did not dare risk it, but they did not steadily advance forward either. When they saw Sumo Chung take the high grounds, they viewed it as their opportunity to victory, so they started moving full speed AEAD, even switching out their healer for a damage dealer midway. The risk they took had been after seeking for stability. Compared to Happy, who risked it all at the start, their risk had been much smaller. Ghost Lantern was instantly surrounded. Void's other 4 players immediately understood the situation too. What should they do? Rescue. Li Xuan typed a single word in chat. They had no choice but to save him. Lee Sun alone probably had no chance of escaping a 4v1 situation. If he died, it would become a 5v6. Although Void could have their 6th player sub in, it would still be a 5v5. However, Happy would have an extra player as a backup, allowing them to play more forcefully to take the initiative. Forcing the 2 sides to trade would be disadvantageous for Void. Thus, at this moment, Li Xuan didn't choose to retreat, instead calling for everyone to hurry over. After all, the rest of Void wasn't that far from him. With a ghost boundary placed down, Li Xuan felt like he should be able to quickly find an opening for Lee Sun to get away. Ice Soul. Li Xuan's character was the #1 phantom demon in glory, Crying Devil. The silver weapon in his hands 4 heavenly wheels strengthen 3 elements, fire, ice, and darkness. The glittering ice crystals swept over the darkness of ghost blades. The cast time was extremely short too. The ice boundary was set down almost instantly. However, almost instant meant it wasn't instant. The moment the ice boundary started to form, Li Xuan saw a grenade at his feet. The grenade exploded. Crying Devil dodged it, but the ice boundary failed to be placed down. Li Xuan looked upwards and saw Dancing Rain's long hair and clothing fluttering in the wind at the top of the watchtower. She really is our nemesis. Li Xuan sighed, but a shadow flickered past Crying Devil practically the instant the grenade exploded. Ice crystals flowed from the tachi in his hands. It just wasn't as dazzling as 4 heavenly wheels. Carved Ghost's weapon, Heavenly Crimson Lotus, strengthened fire element skills. His ice boundary wasn't skilled very high either, so the ice crystals swirling around Heavenly Crimson Lotus didn't look as glamorous. Moreover, compared to Crying Devil, Carved Ghost's cast time was a bit slower. But at this moment, the phantom soul from Heavenly Crimson Lotus flew out, forming the ice boundary. The area surrounding Ghost Lantern froze into ice. Who could be more skilled at coordinating with boundaries than Void's Ghostblade duo? Whether it was each other's thoughts, habits, or characters, the two had reached the point of perfection. They no longer need to speak to communicate. Crying Devil, the #1 phantom demon, had just been cover. The one to actually lay down the ice boundary was Carved Ghost. In that instant, Void completed an extremely beautiful display of teamwork. How could Happy not retreat from an ice boundary? The threat of Carved Ghost's ice boundary might be slightly lower, but its effects couldn't be ignored. However, Happy didn't retreat. Fang Rui's boundless sea swung both his arms, creating a chi guard. WuxRWorldAudio.com. This ice boundary had been blocked by it. The two opponents who fought intensely in the group arena once again clashed in the team competition. The ice energy struck the chi guard, but the power of Carved Ghost's ice boundary was limited. It evidently could not break through Boundless Sea's chi guard. The skill used to try and save Ghost Lantern as soon as possible was blocked. Missing this opportunity, Ghost Lantern took more damage. Li Xuan's Crying Devil charged forward to place down another boundary, when he heard the whistle of missiles flying above his head. Dancing Rain let out all of her firepower towards the two ghost blades. The two dodged, one to the left and the other to the right. They ignored Dancing Rain and continued to charge towards the encirclement. GEKG's blue exorcist waved his hands and took out his scythe. Lightning descended from the sky and gathered on the scythe. He had clearly placed a lightning talisman on it. Chi Guard was unable to completely block this attack. A soul guidance weapon had very high priority. It couldn't be blocked by a normal attack, but among the ones that could, another soul guidance was naturally included. Inside the encirclement, Lord Grimm's myriad manifestations umbrella left his hands and spun towards the scythe. The two skills collided. It could be seen that Lord Grimm's soul guidance priority was slightly weaker. After all, he wasn't an exorcist. However, this collision stopped Blue Exorcist's attack from reaching its desired location. Although it didn't completely block it, it helped the others in Happy dodge this attack. After this collision, the Myriad Manifestations umbrella was recalled back by Lord Grimm and started hitting Ghost Lantern's head again. Along with a fling, Ghost Lantern was thrown out. However, before Void could be happy about it, they saw that the others in Happy had prepared in advance for this toss and were already heading towards there. Ghost Lantern wasn't even able to land on the ground before Steamed Bun Invasion grabbed him with a strangle. Happy focused their attacks, while moving with their target. Turning around the watchtower dumbfounded Void's launcher. Yang Haoxuan had just been about to launch a satellite beam, but with this turn, he no longer had any vision of them. However, he wasn't able to stop himself in time and the satellite beam was still completed. In the end, it awkwardly landed on Carved Ghost's head, who was chasing after them. On the watchtower, Su Mucheng took advantage of this satellite beam and shot at him tumbling with a laser beam. Carved Ghost and Crying Devil crossed each other and switched positions, while also using Ghost Step, which had gone off cooldown. The two characters sprinted, leaving after images behind them, but Happy suddenly caught them off guard. Shatter the lands. Tang Ro's soft mist leapt high into the air and let loose a high-level skill. Who dared to take this skill head-on? The two ghost blades could only retreat. Soft Mist didn't continue fighting. After her attack got rid of them, she immediately went back to attack Ghost Lantern. Ta-ta-ta-ta, Lord Grimm fired a Gatling gun to follow up. A shower of bullets spilled out happily. Void was having a headache. They thought that their ghost blades, who specialized in controlling the field, would be able to quickly let Li Zun escape. Who would have thought that they would be forced into such a pitiful position? As a result, not only did they fail to rescue their teammate, they fell into a trap. They wouldn't be able to get a healer to support them in a short amount of time, but Happy. It was already round 14. Everyone had seen Lord Grimm suddenly wave his umbrella and cast a few heals before. No one would disregard his healing. Retreat. They had just yelled, "Rescue!" and in the blink of an eye, it had turned into a retreat. Quote, "It couldn't be said that this was Li Xuan hesitating. The circumstances had changed. Seeing that rescuing wasn't working and fighting would be difficult, they could only let go of one of their players and save their own lives so they could fight another battle." Who would have thought that while Void had given up, Happy hadn't? Sensing Void's intentions, Happy abandoned Ghost Lantern and chased after them. End chapter. The King's Avatar. Chapter 1229. Team Void's Launcher. Audio source, wuxia-world-audiobook.com. Chapter 1229. Team Void's Launcher. Translator, Nomyami. Editor, Nomyami. Team Void was still a pro team. Even in retreat, there was strategy. They could not ignore the enemy as they backed away, and saw Lord Grimm and Boundless Sea standing nearly mirrored, opening their palms with almost identical stances. Cloud grasping fist. And it was two at the same time. Of Team Void's 4 players, besides Yang Haoxuan's translucent, everyone else was within range of these two grabs. Luckily, they noticed their movements in time and hastily scrambled around frantically. If Cloud Grasping Fist could not be interrupted, the only other way to escape from it was to run around constantly so the enemy couldn't pinpoint them. The chi released by Cloud Grasping Fist was completely invisible. The attention of these 3 players were entirely focused on the 2 Cloud Grasping Fists, when they saw Yang Haoxuan roar in chat. Above. The moment they saw the message, they felt an abnormality in the lighting of their field of view, but it was already too late to do anything. A satellite beam descended from the sky. The 3 had only been focused on the 2 cloud-grasping fists, so for a moment, they forgot about Dancing Rain, who was above them. And the price for their mistake was painful. The central satellite beam struck Crying Devil, and the following smaller beams thoroughly disrupted their rhythm. Dragon breaks the ranks. Tang Hao's soft mist seized this opportunity to force her way into their ranks. Although her charge didn't hit anyone, her follow-up Tyrant's Destruction sent Blue Exorcist, who was busy dodging the rotating beams of light, flying away. Blue Exorcist lost his balance. However, Tyrant's Destruction wasn't a grab skill that locked the body. As Blue Exorcist flew in the air, GKD hastily regained his balance. In this instant, GKG's calmness showed. The Soul Guidance scythe flew out, not towards soft mist, nor was it to stop Happy's counterattack. Instead, it was thrown to its max distance, towards Steamed Bun Invasion, who had pinned Ghost Lantern to the ground, was beating him up. Locked Talisman. A talisman, which could help Lee Sun break out from the assault, was attached to the scythe. Lee Sun and Ghost Lantern had already been abandoned, but because of the change in circumstances, GKG calmly made this decision. With Team Void's rhythm disrupted, this was a decision to disrupt Happy's rhythm. If Lee Sun was saved, he could form a pincer attack with the rest of Void and again open up the enemy's formation. This was the best-case scenario for Void's current situation. Suddenly, a "pew" sounded. GKG looked up and saw a beam of light fire from Dancing Rain's cannon and accurately strike the scythe. Soul Guidance had high priority, but the burst from Laser Beam was not weak either. This laser beam was unable to completely stop the scythe dead on its tracks, but it knocked it towards the ground. With a hum, the scythe stuck into the ground about half a unit away from Steamed Bun Invasion. The talisman on the scythe activated, but it didn't do anything. As for Steamed Bun Invasion, he didn't react until now. If Sumo Chung hadn't shot down the scythe, Steamed Bun, who was in the middle of beating up Ghost Lantern, would have most likely been hit. If the attack had connected, the locked talisman would have taken effect. Void would briefly have a 5v4 situation, and the tides would turn. GKG's calm, swift decision was truly terrifying, however. Looking up at that launcher at the top of the watchtower, GKG was filled with awe. He had joined the Alliance last season, just when Excellent Era had been relegated from the league. As a result, he had never fought against Sumo Chung's launcher. Although there was quite some controversy over Sumo Chung in the public eye, Team Void had suffered under her hands and had nothing but praise for her. When Li Xuan and Wu Yus, his two seniors, had heard about Team Excellent Era getting relegated, GKG clearly heard him let out a sigh of relief. The person who had given these two all-stars such pressure was Sumo Chung. What type of player is she? GKG had always been curious about Sumo Chung. And now, after personally going into battle against her, GKG could finally feel just how unbearable of an existence this top supportive player was. Li Xuan and Wu Yus probably had the strongest feeling of this unbearableness. GKG had nearly reversed the situation with Soul Guidance, but because of Sumo Chung's laser beam, his attack had been blocked. Team Void had scattered like sand. Right now, Yang Haoxuan, who had been picked for the team competence specifically to counter Sumo Chung, felt very ashamed of himself. His purpose was to restrict Sumo Chung, but what had he done so far? When the match started, Team Void had not sent him out to fight for the high grounds. Yang Haoxuan knew what the team had been worried about, but he didn't have the confidence to stand out and take the initiative to express that he could do it. If he had displayed this kind of courage and confidence, Yang Haoxuan knew that the team would have certainly given him the chance to prove himself. However, he hadn't. He had even felt glad that the team hadn't forced him to carry out this task. This was Yang Haoxuan himself not confident in himself, but at the same time, it was the shadow that Sumo Chung had placed in their hearts. After the two sides started fighting, Sumo Chung occupied the high grounds and had an amazing field of view and position. However, it wasn't like Yang Haoxuan was sitting there doing nothing. He could also utilize his long-ranged attacks to suppress Sumo Chung. But from the looks of it, it seemed like he wasn't doing anything. At least, in the crucial moments, he hadn't displayed any usefulness. On the other hand, Sumo Chung had repeatedly disrupted Team Void several times. It shouldn't be like this. What should I do? Yang Haoxuan told himself that, but in this chaotic situation that he could read clearly, he wasn't able to make a precise and effective judgment. In the end, he was just a long-ranged attacker, standing at the farthest and safest position, a decoration for their team's offensive prowess. Change the tides. Yang Haoxuan had neither the courage nor the confidence. Even if he had the ability to make a difference, the probability of it happening was unlikely. Yang Haoxuan's translucent stood there far, far away, as if he were truly translucent. Sometimes, he would throw some AoE attacks towards where the ghost duo were attacking. Sometimes, he would nervously look upwards to observe Sumuchung's actions and then send a few attacks towards her. Yang Haoxuan, what exactly are you doing? Finally, Wu Yus yelled out in the chat. This enduring vice-captain very rarely gave any orders or directions, perhaps he was intentionally avoiding it. After all, Team Void's ghost duo was a pair with debate over who was better. WuxRWorldAudio.com. Wu Yus didn't want to exceed his place and disrupt the balance by meddling in other people's matters. He very carefully kept a certain distance away from Captain Li Xuan. His voice was oftentimes even less heard than the regular team members during a match. But now, this vice-captain had done what he rarely ever did. He spoke. Let alone Yang Haoxuan, even the others felt a shiver in surprise. Focus on Sumuchung. Don't bother with anything else, Wu Yus said with unwavering certainty. Yang Haoxuan tensed up. He looked upwards with practically zero thought behind it and saw Dancing Rain aiming at a target from the edge of the watchtower. Yang Haoxuan didn't even think and shot a laser beam towards her. An involuntary action was the fastest. Yang Haoxuan lifting up his head and laser beam was practically simultaneous because he had done it without any thinking at all. When Sumuchung saw translucent look towards her, she didn't think the attack would be so fast. Laser beam speed was extremely fast too, flashing in front of her in the blink of an eye. Even if Sumuchung wanted to dodge, it was too late. The laser beam struck her ferociously, pushing her off the watchtower. Beautiful. Quote, their captain Li Xuan was busy, but he took the time to praise Yang Haoxuan. Picking Yang Haoxuan to counter Sumuchung was proof of his capabilities. Everyone approved of him. The problem was that he lacked the courage and confidence to face Sumuchung. Sumuchung was said to be Li Xuan's and Wu Yus's nemesis, and when they faced Sumuchung, they cowered at times. How could the other players not show fear for Sumuchung in this kind of atmosphere? What's more, Yang Haoxuan was a launcher, while Sumuchung was an all-star launcher. All-stars were chosen out of popular vote, but where did popularity come from? The foundation came from skill, so it was also a form of recognition towards a player's skill. Thus, Yang Haoxuan always felt like he couldn't compare to Sumuchung. That was in addition to Team Void's atmosphere, putting him to face Sumuchung. Not having confidence or courage couldn't entirely blamed on him, so the team tried to encourage him. When they saw this attack, their team captain immediately went out of his way to praise him. Sure enough, this laser beam woke up Yang Haoxuan. Even though it didn't instantly make him feel like he was invincible, he had to do what he needed to do. His mind suddenly cleared up. Wu Yus roared at him to focus on Sumuchung, on nothing else, but this was just to point out how important it was. How could pro players only single-mindedly work on one task? As a result, the instant Dancing Rain was blasted away, Translucent shifted his attention back to the other battles, providing support for his team. From time to time, he would pay attention to Dancing Rain. Dancing Rain was pushed out of the watchtower, but Sumuchung reacted extremely fast. She fired several cannon shots to counteract the knockback from the laser beam and slow her descent. Then, she used the launcher's rotor wing, putting her back on top of the watchtower. In Glory, character skill trees could be reset as long as you spent the money. Normal players might try to avoid doing so to save money, but pro teams wouldn't care about this bit of money. Whether it was to test out new skill setups or picking skills specifically to counter opponents, resetting skill trees was a common practice. Sometimes, it was possible to make surprising changes to one's playstyle. Li Xuan's Crying Devil was as Phantom Demon, but it wasn't like he had never reset his points and reallocated it as a Sword Demon. This sort of situation wouldn't happen too often though. After all, his Phantom Demon was his best character. Su Mucheng had probably reset her skills to learn rotor wings specifically for this match. As Yang Haoxuan guessed, Translucent's cannon once again aimed towards the air. End chapter.